Alrighty, grab your sketchbooks because we are doodling tonight, or this morning, this afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. I am sketching at night. I record all my videos at night just because I feel like after doing my work for the day when I'm working for clients, I can unwind and just kind of focus on drawing some beasts and critters, and it's just a lot of fun. So it was funny, I was looking through my stack of sketchbooks and I'm starting to run out of space. But I found this one. It's by 3D Total. 3D Total has been an amazing client of mine. I've been working for them for the better part of a decade. I contributed to some sketching from imagination books, like dark arts, sci-fi, creatures and monsters. So those of you that own those books, you probably saw my work in there. They just do amazing quality, and they always give me some kind of little fun gift. They got some male and female models that I can use over here that I can set up on my desk for anatomy. You give me these little sketchbooks to doodle in. So 3D Total, if you are watching right now, I miss you guys. If you have a sketchbook out right now, it doesn't matter what type of paper you use. It doesn't matter what you're drawing with. I am using a Bic ballpoint pen, but if you seriously have a number 2 pencil, you can go ahead and use that. Or if you have one of these that I got from my son's kindergarten class when he was in kindergarten, that also works. So just bust out some really cool some cool tools and let's have at it. So here I'm drawing a little beast by laying down some really fast gestural lines. Now, because the sketchbook is actually smaller, I believe it's 5x7, maybe 5x7.5. The sketches are actually much larger on the page because you know how my videos in thumbnail sketching go, because I have more room and I just start plugging them in there. I'm not really sure how this creature is going to go, but I'm kind of liking this really crazy row of spikes here. So it might be this big slug-like creature. Wouldn't that be kind of neat? Maybe it's crawling across the ground or sliding across the ground, and maybe under here is a mouth. Maybe there's some sharp teeth hanging down. It's like a big mouth. Asymmetrical teeth. I don't know, let's see what happens. The point I'm getting at is that it doesn't matter what tools you're using, doesn't matter what type of paper you're using. What matters is you are able to open up a sketchbook, try to clear your mind, don't have a set idea in your head, maybe a little one, and just have fun drawing. Just have fun. A lot of times aspiring concept artists, well, I take that back. Just aspiring artists in general, folks that just want to get good at drawing, they're thinking too hard about perfecting everything that you're putting down. And that's what's going to hinder your progress if you continue to do that. Now, yes, it's a little easier said than done. I mean, we're artists. We tend to obsess about the things that we're sketching. But the point I'm getting at is if you start throwing lines down on your page at the very beginning, instead of worrying too much about the entire image and what it's going to look like when it's over, just let it build up. Just let it build up. You have to learn patience, and you have to learn how to layer these things on. Things as in markings and, shading and whatever else is going to go in your sketches. Like here, I'm just relaxed and I'm just having fun putting in some random sharp teeth. This probably could be a big mouth here. Before I started this video and I saw that sketchbook, I was like, okay, well, I know I'm going to do a critter, but that's about as far as it's going to go. I did envision a row of spikes. That was the first thing in my mind even before I started the drawing. But that's seriously it. I didn't know how they were going to be aligned. I just started plugging my lines down, and I wasn't even hoping for the best. I was just seeing what was going to happen. Are there things that I would immediately change about this sketch? Well, yeah. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, we as artists are never happy about what we're drawing. It takes a lot for us to put something down and go, you know what? I would not change that. And that's after we erase and erase and erase and sketch something for 5.5 hours. Speaking of that, I do have a drawing coming up where I will be sketching something for a full 5 hours. I will record everything, and I will edit very little of it. I don't really edit my videos anyway. I'm trying to be as pure as I can with my channel, and hey, you know, there's nothing against folks that edit their videos. No, it's awesome. I've been approached by a lot of, you know, video editors, both through email and online, be like, hey, you should edit your shorts, or you should edit your videos. And you know, when I look at the way that I'm teaching this stuff, I'm just thinking, because I taught in person before, in classrooms, I've had impromptu sketch sessions, and I just remember students coming in between classes, or if they're done for the day, they just go get their sketchbooks and they just chill with me at the table and then just start drawing. So it's kind of like what I want to do with this channel. I just want it to be like you're walking in a room, you know, you're at school or college or whatever, your studio, and your classes are out for the day, and you go back to the building because you need to study, and all of a sudden somebody's in that room and they're drawing or they're reading, and what do you naturally want to do? You just want to go chill with them, you know, especially if they're doodling. Those of you in art school right now that are attending, you know, comment below and let me know if that's what happens to you. I remember that happened to me all the time. We would get our studio times done. I think the latest in the day that we ever had studio, what was it, like 6 o'clock maybe, and we were done. But we always came back to studio in the evening times just because we drew better at night. We would get our Red Bull ready. Yeah, my friends that went to University of Cincinnati with me that are listening right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One of my friends / classmates, the sister was the regional rep for Red Bull, and she would just bring cases of Red Bull for us every week, and we would just drink it at night because we were up until 2 or 3 in the morning just drawing. I remember, I think I've told you this story before, but I'm the one that supplied the subwoofer and the speaker systems, so I brought in a whole stack of DVDs. Yes, we watched DVD. This was early 2000s, folks, like 2003, 2007. You know, we put on Predator, we put on Aliens, Mad Max, like all those movies, and we started them at 10 p.m. And we had our little projector screen, so while we were drawing, you know, we had those going in the background. And if we weren't watching a movie, we would just be cranking up music. So I listen to EDM, so I draw better if I'm just listening to fast techno and just going to town. You know, I was in transportation design, so that's what we did. But we would listen to other stuff too. I mean, man, we were cranking up Rammstein, we were cranking up, you know, we had R&B on, we had all kinds of stuff. I don't think anybody played country. I can't remember if anybody did. I think we only stuck to a couple genres. I don't even think we played pop, but could be wrong. I mean, that was what, 18 years ago? 19, 20 years ago we were in that studio. Oh man. So you can see that I'm just throwing lines down. Now this is a smaller sketch pad. These little portable sketch pads, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't have to be from 3D Total. Just go to your local store and see if you can find something to doodle in, like a pocket sketchbook. And that's what I wanted to show you guys today here. I mean, this really is a pocket sketchbook. And they're really convenient too. If you just go in public and you need to draw or practice drawing figures, you know, gestures, like if you're at Starbucks, if you're at some kind of cafe, weather permitting, you can sit outside or whatever, just start drawing people. If you're on the subway, it's really, really good to use. I'm trying to keep this nice and light and loose here. This really is a very big, well-protected slug. So much so that I believe at the ends of these, this large face shape, we're going to have another spike coming down here and then one on the other side. And I'm putting a little bit more detail in today so you guys can see me just sketch this thing from scratch. Wanted to give you guys a little bit, something a little different than an insect, because this is definitely not an insect. It's more of a big beast than anything. It's a slimy slug. Could be a boss character, could be, you know, something just from dark fantasy. I would like to hear some stories from some of you if you have any. If you, you know, if you find that sketching at nighttime is easier for you, you know, explain why. For me, there's just something about the mind opening up at nighttime, and I really do think it's cosmic. Let's continue to add some fun details to this. Our little slug friend. Actually, not a little slug friend. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a little human in here just to show you all how big our slug friend actually is. A little backpack on there. This human has been stopped in their tracks, and they have no idea what to do next. There has not been an attack yet, but instead, it's kind of like a stare down. Let's make this a little scene, you know? Put some rocks over here. Maybe like an outcropping of rocks and some plants next to it. These are the slug's feelers. So maybe they can be hanging from those very large shapes on the right or left. And I'm treating this just like I would with a pencil. Just very light, just wisping some shapes on. But I don't want to be clean about the surface texture. I will overlap very light lines until it gets so thick that that forms its own texture. Okay, when in doubt, add spikes, right? We could just keep going like this. Hopefully you're learning something too. If you're drawing along with me, if all you needed was just a little push, we're doing it. Okay, we got our little grouping of plants here. So there's going to be no arms or legs on this big slug creature. Instead, just a faint hint of the giant body in the back. Okay, and I'm going to place some darker lines around anything in the front that I need to draw attention to. I think the thing that's going to draw the most attention is that mouth. So maybe I'll just color the inside of the mouth in just jet black with the ink, but I'm not going to go straight across. Like, I'm not going to keep this even between the teeth because there's muscle in there. There's different places inside there. The tongue, there could be different muscular shapes in there, different appendages that we have yet to see. But what I'm trying to do is put some black right next to the teeth that I want to be poking out. Because you have to be careful with the pen. You don't want to go overboard with it. So I'm just tilting the pen to the side just a little bit, and I'm keeping every little line that I make very close together, and I'm brushing the pen strokes across the page. I'm not pushing hard at all. And now I'm going to come backwards towards the mouth, and I'm going to push. I'm feathering the markings on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it like this. Okay, and then I'm going to go at a different angle. So this technique that I'm using when I'm just brushing the pen strokes on, this really helps control. I mean, those of you that are drawing and are just learning how to use a pen when you shade, you probably have noticed that sometimes if you try to shade back and forth like a pencil, the strokes will show up much more because you got to get so much more closer with the pen. Well, when you brush it on, it allows you to make the stroke, lift it up and relax, lift it up, lift it up, lift it up, and just apply it over and over again. But this does require a soft touch. And I have been asked a lot about how do you make all of your lines so light? And the answer is I don't push hard. It may be kind of a smart answer, you know, like a smart mouth answer, and it's totally not intended for that to come off like that. But there's no secret sauce to making light lines, medium lines, and dark lines. You just push harder, then you release some of the pressure to get the medium line, and then you release even more pressure to get the light line. That's it. And yeah, it's easier said than done. However, when you get good at applying pressure and releasing pressure and just controlling that pencil or that pen that you're using, you'll be able to draw an entire image with just one pencil. And that's the ultimate goal, right? I mean, who wants to spend money and go to the store and buy a whole pack of pencils to draw one drawing? Just do it with one pencil. That's the goal. That's why I use 4B. Because one, it's a B, and the graphite for Bs, they can get darker and there's more texture. 2, 4 is pretty much in the middle of the Bs that you need to use anyway, so you can get light and dark with it. I love them. Now, I will say that you can get really dark with a 6B and a 7B, but you're venturing into charcoal territory at that point. And that graphite's so soft that, yeah, I mean, you might as well just use a black Prismacolor then, because it's going to look really dark. And they're nice, don't get me wrong, they're nice, but they're going to be really dark. So what I'm doing here is I'm just finding spots where the shadow can definitely exist. I'm making each side of this face asymmetrical. Try to keep my hand out of the way here so you guys can see what I'm doing. Those little tentacles coming down, I guess feelers, those, like that, you can see some of the head right underneath it, and that's going to be pure darkness, because we want that contrast to really show up, but we don't want it to ruin the facial spikes. We just want it to show up just enough to where it's, you know, it's there. If you don't know what gestural lines are, a gesture is drawing a figure or drawing a form while it's in motion in a specific amount of time. So I'm drawing quickly. This creature is moving per se. I mean, yeah, these two characters are at a standstill, but it's moving. And then you know, I just want to do it quickly. And one of the things about creature design that I feel is the most important out of anything, yes, you're going to have to study animal anatomy to get this to look right, but the skulls, like the skull of it. So I'm thinking about what the bone structure looks like for this crazy thing. So you can see here at the base of each of these head spikes, do you see how I'm getting thick with the base of it? It almost looks like there's a protrusion coming out and then the spike is growing out of the protrusion. That's because for you as the viewer, I want you all to look at this and go, huh, okay, so there's that big spike. Oh, we can see how it grows out of that. There's bone under there. And then there's the skull, because the teeth have to grow out of it, etc. Always think about how things will grow out of the skin whenever you do creatures, instead of just placing random spikes on it because you think they look cool. If you're drawing a creature right now and it probably has random spikes on there, what can you do to the base of those spikes to make it look like they're actually growing from the skin? Now what I'm doing is I'm placing some contour lines across the body, just very light. I want to keep everything over here, like the spikes and the face and everything, in the foreground. Okay, this is the selling point of the critter. It's weird, like when I say critter makes it seem like it's small, and this thing isn't small. So we see how big it is to the human being right down there. Okay, and then here, you know, I'm adding some thickness to the neck. I think that's what I was doing before. And I'm keeping these lines very light. You see what's happening now. As I wisp these lines across the page, we can start to see that the lines are actually so close together that I'm adding a texture to it. It's almost like I'm shading. And I'm not sitting here going, okay, well, I got to shade this spot. No, I'm just letting the lines happen. but I'm also following the contours of the body because the body is pretty thick. It's almost like the graboids and Tremors. Those of you that have seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. And then the skull structure, I think what I'll do is I'll put some cracks in the skin. I also need to darken the base of the horns just so there's enough contrast between the skin and the actual horn. This thing won't have much of a core shadow around these two big parts of the skull coming off, but they will have some shadow to show that the surface is rounded. Hey, I hope you guys are enjoying this lesson. It's a little different than normal. You haven't seen me sketch a creature this long for a while now. I do promise that I have a long sketch video coming up. I am super excited about it. I'll tell you a little bit about it now, just to entice you on purpose because I'm evil. But it will be roughly 5 hours, virtually unedited. So it's going to be a long one. You know, I'll have timestamps and everything, but no music, nothing like that. Just me, just my pencil, my sketchbook, and then talking to you guys. I'm not even going to time lapse it. So what I try to do whenever I do that, I have done it before. I've actually recorded several of them, but I've just never posted them as videos. But in real life, I have led drawing workshops where I would draw for the attendees coming in. And that's essentially what I'm going to be doing for you guys, except that it's going to be on YouTube. I'm really excited about it too. So you can see my process from start to finish. And the next time I show you one of my fully illustrated pencil drawings, you'll get to see how I start those from absolute scratch, just a blank page. There's going to be no gimmicks, no fancy equipment, nothing. Torgem Studio Light, a pencil, and then my Canon camera that I'm using right now. I really don't have a fancy setup for my drawings. I don't want a fancy setup. Maybe at some point, but you know, right now I just plop the warm light on my sketch pads and go to town. Okay, there we go. So what I'll do now, this is a cool little trick. So if you have a ground plane like this, and then you have the body of your creature or whatever you're drawing, and the body of it is touching the ground, there are going to be specific spots where light is not touching. So tiny little spot in here I'm going to make dark and then leave it. And then over here, if the body of the creature is touching the ground and then the ground starts, get darker right where the ground and the body meet and then fade those off. And it's a cool little effect because it looks like the creature actually belongs to that atmosphere. It belongs to that ground. It's a really neat effect. Like the skin folds that I'm drawing right here touching the ground, it starts dark and I'm going thick to thin as I'm moving upwards. I don't want to dip the skin past the ground because it'll ruin the flatness of it. Because then it will look like the ground is see-through, and I don't want that. This is also a play up on contrast, because if I don't have shadow underneath the body here, then the jaw gets to be darker, because the jaw is really the focal point. I'm not necessarily sure that I was even successful in this jaw design. Now, looking back on it, yes, I would definitely want to change it. But, you know, that's just me being a perfectionist and wanting to correct my own work. And I don't want to overdo it or anything. Oh, I hear a siren in the background. Can't have one of my videos recording without the obligatory siren. So you can see all of the overlapping lines now. I have been slowly but surely layering these on as I've been talking to you guys about this sketch. And hopefully you've learned something as you just watch me doodle the face. So this has been so much fun. Thank you all for tuning in and watching this. So to talk about some of the atmosphere and what I like doing for the ground, just to give it a cool little environment, is I'll put some pebbles or some rock formations that are closer to us, just to make it seem like we're standing there witnessing these two characters talk to each other. And maybe put like a bush or a plant or something over here on this side. Notice how dark I'm getting with this. I'm going directly over the creature. That's because it's closer to us, that's all. And then if you want to have this blend in with the environment, the base of the plant, it's no different than drawing hair coming off of skin. At the base of it, you draw some wispy marks, applying thick to thin lines, but in very short controlled bursts like this, and you can bleed it into the dirt. So what that does is it smooths it out, and it feels like it's growing from the dirt. You see how fuzzy that looks now? It didn't look like that before. So that's a cool little trick. And then perspective wise, I'm going to draw maybe some cracks or some little cracks and valleys in the dirt coming at us. So it makes it seem like it's going towards a vanishing point. You know, down here, we'll fade up some of the shadow from the creature onto the belly. See these short little bursts that I'm using? That's what I want to keep in there. Those are very important. It's a very important technique to be able to do that, and it's easier said than done. So I want you guys to practice that after you watch this video. Okay, regardless of what you're drawing right now, practice those short controlled bursts with the pen. So much easier said than done. I get it. When I tell you like, here, just do this, but like, no, seriously, just whip it across the page and release it quickly, and you will get better at drawing bark, cement, dirt, hair, fur, wrinkles, all of it. It's a lot of fun. I got to fix some value differences here, so it looks like those tentacles need to be darker because it's hanging in front of the shaded neck, which is getting just as dark as the tentacles, so I need to be careful. See these right over here? Okay, so if those hang down, you can still see them as an outline, so I guess that's not too bad, but let's just darken the tips up. Let's just have fun with that. Let's just darken the tips up. You can still tell that they're there, just being very careful with it. If I do that, then I'll probably need to add some kind of shadow at the tips of these horns that are poking down towards the ground. Because remember, this is being lit from above, so like there's some bounce light happening off of the dirt and the ground, and it's bouncing back up, but I don't want to get too overboard with it. And you don't want to add too much in the background here, just because it's not important. All right, there we have it, guys. This is our cool little scene, a cool little creature scene with our friend here trying to talk to it. Maybe he needs to ask for permission to pass, or the two of them just happen to be strolling along and they ran into each other. Maybe they're old friends. All right, thanks for tuning in, folks, and I hope you learned something today. Comment below if you did, or if you didn't, whichever one. I respect the answer. Peace.